Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Alright, we're live, and as you guys can tell by the title and thumbnail, today I'm going to be working on more game logic in SDL3 using C++. That said, I did go over SDL3's game logic last stream as well. Although I didn't get too far, I just learned how to make the user jump. Today I'm honestly planning to actually make the user bounce up or trap the user in the window. That said, let me go to my gameplay screen and maybe also mute that real quick. Go all the way there. There we go. Okay, and guys, this is the chat from last stream because I didn't have time to make a new chat. That's let me say something like Sensei live exclamation. Okay, let's see. People, listen closely. The stream has begun and your Sensei has arrived. Today you don't drift, you do not daydream, you do not let your mind go soft. Okay, you're here to build worlds, to command logic, to bend C++ and SDL to your will. Viewers, witness this child of chaos trying to become a game engineer. If he slacks, I'll scream at him. If he learns, I'll praise him with ego explosions. If he succeeds, all of you have front row seats to his assets. Guys, if I can't read probably right now, that is because I am not warmed up yet. That's it, people. What are you working on today? Let your sensei know and I'll drag you up the mountain by force if I have to. Okay, that's it. Maybe I won't let Sensei slash ChatGPT know what I'm doing right now because I am going to be, writing this code that I did work on last stream to see if I actually remember it till now because I didn't have time to work off stream. So let me go ahead and start off by deleting that. And technically what code I'm going to be writing right now is I'm going to be adding a floor, a PNG that can move using key controls, another PNG that is automated, means it moves on its own, and I'm going to be having my user actually jump upwards and all that stuff as well, if that made any sense, including adding gravity logic. Okay, because I haven't learned about collisions yet, just yet. That's it. Let me go ahead and firstly include a pair of ankle braces. Let's say I want to include IO stream, and then let me go ahead and include SDL3 as well because I am going to be using SDL3. So I'm going to go with something like SDL3, excuse me guys, slash SDL.h. SDL.h is basically the header files for SDL. Okay, start doing code forces as soon as possible. Honestly, I haven't heard of code forces, but I might actually try that. Okay, that said, since I am going to work with PNGs and the image section of SDL as well, I am going to be including a pair of ankle braces. Let's go with SDL3 underscore image. I'm going to include the image section of SDL, and then SDL underscore image .h, the header files of my images as well. Okay, perfect. Now, once I'm done with that, let's go ahead and create a few classes first before I do create my main function. So I'm going to go ahead and create a class. My class is going to be called something like, I don't know, mage, because I will be having a mage as my user slash my player. So I'm going to go with something like mage, add a pair of curly braces. Now, my mage class is going to be having a few parameters. Although here's the thing, maybe I should add a general class that already has gravity in it because I want to apply my gravity on my objects all at the same time and not individually. So maybe I add a apply gravity method inside of my mage class. Although to do that, I could go ahead and create something like a private data member for let's say something like a flowing point gravity, which is going to be equal to 0.5 f ending with a semicolon. Since I'm using private data members, I might have to use getters and setters as well, honestly. Okay, make a gravity component. That actually does make sense. Should I make a structure? Hey, I just joined. Can I please get some context? Honestly, basically, I'm working on game logic in SDL3 using C++. Today, I'm working on gravity logic and making the user jump using key controls and all that stuff, loading PNGs. Although maybe I will be adding a trap logic as well, so my player is trapped in the window type stuff. Making a gravity component. Should I have a separate variable? Okay, you're making a game on C#. Honestly, I make it on C++. Okay, AI script videos look real and it read comments with replies. Guys, that's actually kind of crazy. Okay, that's the next step. Let me go ahead and publicalize everything. Now, inside of the publicalize section, firstly, I'm going to be creating a constructor for my mage class. I'm going to go with mage, add a pair of parentheses. Now, my mage class is going to be requiring a few parameters. Let's say the first parameter is going to be my gravity. Although, before going with gravity, I think I might need to add something like a SDL underscore texture. Okay, so hold up guys, there we go. Okay, I'll go with the SDL underscore textures as structure. This is gonna be something like texture. Okay, and then I'm gonna end it with a semicolon. maybe I go with something like mage image. So I'm gonna go with mage image. Okay, and then I might need a rect as well. So I'll go with SDL underscore F rect, which is gonna be called something like mage rect, ending with a semicolon. C++. Honestly, that does make sense. I'm using C++. Okay, now once I'm done adding these basic stuff here, I'm gonna go ahead and create a constructor for my mage. What all parameters would my constructor require? Let's see. Maybe I want to go ahead and give it my SDL's texture, so I might go with something like mage images parameter. Also, this is whatchamacallit. Instead of then privating everything, I could go with something like public. Unless I wanted to add like getters and setters, so I might just remove that real quick. Okay, do I want to public this? Would it like make sense if it is actually public? I think I'll keep it to be private for the time being. Okay, in that case, I don't think I might require any parameters, so I might go with something like SDL underscore renderer. I might require renderer parameter. And what else parameters? Because this is my constructor. It's not actually my mage. I might go with something like size as well. Okay, I don't have a parameter of size. Be careful not to overuse public parameters. That does make sense. Okay, overuse public parameters. So I might need a renderer. So when I actually add my mage object, when I create my mage object, I wouldn't want my renderer. Instead, I would want my texture. There we go, guys. I need my texture. So I'm gonna go with something like texture. And that's a texture parameter. The second parameter is going to be a size. I might create a function for my scale slash size. So I might go with something like SDL underscore frect. Okay, this is going to be having a scale function that does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my texture. So I'll go with SDL underscore texture, which is going to be a pointer to my texture, whatever texture my user adds here. There we go. Texture is basically my mage image type stuff. Howdy Pixels, I appreciate you joining this stream. Okay, that said, next up I'm going to be requiring a x-axis and a y-axis, so I'll go with something like floating point x-axis, a floating point y-axis, and then a floating point width for my texture, a floating point height for my texture, and lastly a floating point scale for my texture. Okay, what did eat for dinner? Honestly, it's not like dinner yet, because like I think I ate a apple for breakfast, because it's almost like lunchtime. I mean, it is like 12:30 p.m. right now. That said, okay, now inside of my SDL underscore frect or scales function, I'm gonna go ahead and use my SDL underscore frect structure again, and let's say create a local variable called rect, ending with a semicolon. Now I'm gonna fill a few attributes. Are you going to include depth? Honestly, I haven't like heard it's like depth a library or something, because I haven't like heard of that. That said, I'm gonna go with something like rect.x-axis, which is going to be equal to something like 0. Maybe I go with 200, ending with a semicolon. Rect.y-axis is going to be something like, I don't know, maybe 300, ending with, actually, it's going to be my y-axis parameter. That's going to be my x-axis parameter. And then my rect.width is going to be my width parameter, but I'm going to be multiplying that by my size as well, ending with a semicolon. Or I might change that to scale. There we go. Okay, honestly, I feel like size would be much better for this. So I'll go with something like size. And then lastly, let's say something like height equals to my height parameter multiplied by my size, ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and return my rect, ending with a semicolon as well. Hello, hiding Robert. I appreciate you joining the stream. To be honest, this is cool. Honestly, I appreciate you, Pixel. It actually makes kind of sense. But guys, I'm actually brainstorming really hard while commenting right now. While commentating right now, I'm trying to figure out what should I do next. Okay, sorry, not as a library, but depth as a variable to scale things in respect to the camera. Oh, I see. Honestly, I haven't like learned how to do that yet, but I might actually look into that. Okay, that said, now for my mage's constructor, firstly, I require a texture. Next up, I should be requiring a size, but I don't think I'm going to be adding a size just yet. So I'm going to go with the Pro Creative Races. Once I get my texture, what do I want to do inside of my constructor? Do I want to initialize any of these variables? I don't think so. So I might actually go with something like, let me think. Okay, Hiding Raven, I appreciate you joining the stream. What up, guys? I did do this last stream. I think I should know what to do here. So I might go with something like my texture. So my mage image. Can I use my mage image here? Oh, I remember. There we go. Okay, so I'll go with something like my mage image is going to be equal to image underscore, it was called something like load texture function. Okay, there we go. This function actually loads my texture, but it does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer, so I'm going to go with something like renderer. Okay, there we go. So instead of adding my texture here, I'm going to be adding SDL underscore renderer. Okay, with a pointer to my renderer local variable. Okay, so I'm going to be adding a render parameter, and the second parameter is going to be my file path. So my file path for my mage image is going to be in my assets folder slash, let's say something like mage.png. Okay, perfect. And then let's go ahead and end my entire function with a semicolon. Now, I want to actually scale my function. So I might go with something like mage dot or mage rect, my mage rect is rect, dot x-axis is going to be equal to, let's see, okay, I need two parameters here. I might go with size as well. Do I want to go with size? I could go with something like a floating point of size. Okay, so mage.rect is going to be mage's x-axis is going to be somewhere around 200 pixels, ending with a semicolon. Mage rect dot y-axis is going to be equal to somewhere around, I don't know, maybe like 400, which is the center of my screen, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like mage rect dot width is going to be equal to, now before I actually just randomly hardcode a width as number, I do want to actually get my literal PNGs as width. Okay, to do that, I could go ahead and firstly, let's create two variables. So I'll go with something like a floating point variable for textures as width, and then a floating point variable for my textures as height, ending with a semicolon. Okay, after I'm done with that, let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore texture size. Was it something like get texture size? I'm pretty sure it was something like get texture size function. There we go. Okay, now my get texture size function does require three parameters. The first parameter is going to be my textures as parameter. In this case, that is going to be my mage image. And then the memory address of my textures is width, and the memory address of my textures is height, ending with a semicolon. Okay, hiding pixels, I appreciate you joining the stream. Alright, once I get my textures as width and height, now instead of going with a hard-coded number, I'll go with my textures as width multiplied by my size parameter, ending with a semicolon. And then I'll go with something like mage rect. So there we go. Mage rect dot height equals to my textures as height multiplied by my size, ending with a semicolon. Okay, that's actually perfect. Since I did that, I honestly might not need this scale function here, because that might just be an extra chore. Okay, once I'm done adding my texture and scaling my image, is there anything else that I would want to do? Maybe not, so I might go all the way down here and exit my constructor, and then let's go ahead and do something now. I'm firstly going to be creating a void method called something like draw. I'm going to go with draw a pair of parentheses. Now my draw method is going to be requiring a parameter of SDL underscore render. So it requires my renders as parameter. Okay, so there we go. And then I'm going to go with the pair of curly braces. Now let's use the function that actually renders my texture on my screen. So I could go ahead and use the SDL underscore render texture function. So I'm saying my renderer to render a texture. Okay, and my render texture function does require a bunch of parameters. The first parameter is of course going to be my renderer. There we go, ending with a semicolon. Actually, I'm going to add a comma here. Next parameter is going to be my texture, which is technically my mage image. Okay, and then I'm going to add a comma again. And then now my third parameter is going to be my source rect. I honestly didn't add a source rect, so I'm going to set that equal to null PDR. But my DST rect slash my direction rect is going to be my mage's rect, if that made any sense, guys. Okay, so to do that, firstly, I'm going to be adding something like a null PDR here, which is basically a placeholder for pointers. And then I'm going to go with something like mage rect. Okay, perfect. And that's pretty much it for my render texture function. Although, I gotta go with the memory address of my mage rect. I keep forgetting that part. And then I'm gonna go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Okay, now that I did add a draw method, I do want to add a apply gravity method as well. So I might go with something like a void apply gravity method. So I'll go with something like gravity, okay, with a pair of parentheses. Okay, does my apply gravity method require any parameters? I don't think I want to add any parameters that it might require. So I could go ahead and firstly to add my gravity, I might need x-axis and y-axis. So I'll go with something like x-axis underscore or a floating point x-axis. Actually, floating point y-axis underscore velocity. I might go with something like mage y-axis velocity. Okay, okay, mage underscore y-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be equal to 0 initially. Okay, and then I have position and all that stuff. That's it. Now to apply gravity, firstly, howdy KYC, I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. Now to apply gravity, firstly, I'm gonna go ahead and increase my mage underscore y-axis underscore velocity. Let's say something like by my gravity ending with a semicolon, so I increase my speed by my acceleration, and then let's go ahead and increase my position, which is going to be my mage rect dot y-axis. So my mage's rex's y-axis, I'm gonna go ahead and increase that by my mage underscore y-axis underscore velocity ending with a semicolon. Now this simulates gravity, so my mage is going to be falling downwards, but I do want him to land at some point and not like fall infinitely, so I might do something. Are you Indian originally? Basically relevant question. Honestly, that is a pretty good question. That's it. Howdy, Baba or like Baba. I appreciate you joining the stream. Stop ignoring, guys. I'm actually not ignoring. I did like say hi. Okay, that said, now once I'm done applying gravity, let's go ahead and add a if statement to actually add my landing, because I don't want my player to like infinitely be falling down. So I'll go with something like if a parentheses. I'm gonna go with something like if my mage dot rect dot, let's say something like y-axis, or if my mage's rex's y-axis. Okay, maybe I apply gravity here, but I do want to add my landing here because I do not have my floor and all that stuff. Okay, do I want to create like a base class that has like on ground and all that stuff? Maybe I could create a base class. So let's go actually a parent class. So I'll go with something like a parent class slash a base class, because both are the same stuff. This is going to be something like, I don't know, what should I name it? I won't be naming it whatchamacallit, like mages or like apply gravity, because I will be adding my floor here as well. So I could go with something like, I don't know, I'll go with gravity. Okay, and then let's go with the row of curly braces, because apparently now my mage class is going to be a derived class real soon. Although before that, I'm going to be adding my gravity right here. So I'm going to copy my gravity variable from here. And then let's go ahead and paste it here. And then my velocities also, honestly, I might add it up here. Okay, let's go ahead and paste my velocities as well. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these two variables from up here. I have mage's image and mage's rex. I might just change this to a regular y-axis velocity. So I'll go with y-axis velocity. There we go. Okay, guys, I hope this actually works. So I have a y-axis velocity. I'm kind of used to using y-axis underscore velocity. Okay, and then now once I'm done with that, let's go ahead and maybe add x-axis as well. I don't want to add x-axis though. I might go ahead and add something like a boolean for on ground. This is going to be a check whether my player is currently on ground or off ground. I'm going to be setting that equal to, let's say something like false initially. So I'm going to set that to be false initially. Okay, you could add a constant for gravity so that you can use it globally. That does make sense. I could actually, can I add them like above all my classes or something? Let me actually try that. Okay, so let's go all the way up here. I might try something like constant floating point for gravity. Is this like legal to do it this way? 0.5 floating point ending with a semicolon. I could actually add it up here. I didn't know that we could add stuff if it's not inside of our class or main function. So I might not need this here. Okay, and that's like pretty much it. I have a constant. Let me actually add a constant boolean for like on ground as well, because that should be like a general check if my player is on ground. So I'm gonna go ahead and paste it here. Okay, now next up for my gravity, it is standard. Oh, I see. Okay, now for my gravity, I'm gonna go ahead and copy that. So let's go ahead and delete this from here. Before I do delete it, I'm gonna copy this part, and then let's delete my method. And then go all the way up here. Let's go ahead and paste this. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like y-axis underscore velocity, change that to y-axis underscore velocity as well. Okay, although my y-axis underscore velocity should increase by my gravity. Could it be that it's because my gravity variable is not inside of my function? Okay, I don't think it's because of that though. Okay, what is SDL by the way? What is SDL? Honestly, technically, if you guys are like familiar with like Py games in Python, SDL is almost like the same thing, but Py games only works with Python. On the other hand, SDL does work with C++, C Sharp, and I think also like C and like some more languages in general. Okay, when you end your 100 days of C++, can you do JavaScript next? Honestly, I do like have whatchamacallit, because my original series is like for 250 days, and I'm gonna be like trying to make a game that consists of AI logic. So maybe after my C++ for 100 days, I will be working more on actually refining my skills on the AI stuff. So I might like learn something that's related to AIs. Okay, so why can't I add gravity? Maybe because this is like a whole different class type stuff. Okay, since this is a class, let me go ahead and publicize everything real quick. Okay, so I publicize everything. Can't I use my gravity? So I might go with something like my y-axis underscore velocity, which is my acceleration. I have the variable here, but I can't use it. Is it because it's not 0.0f? Okay, I apparently can't use it to increase it by my gravity. Does this even make sense? Can I go with something like floating point? Okay, floating point makes sense, but I don't think this makes much sense here. So let's go ahead and remove my class from here, and I might remove these two variables as well. Okay, I do want to add like a general gravity class. Let me actually ask Sensei/ChatGPT how would I do that? Because okay, can you run this SDL project? I want to see how much you have done. Honestly, I haven't like done much because I didn't create my main function yet. First, I am going to be creating classes, and then I'm going to be creating a main function and a main loop, and then I actually get to like run the loop. If you guys like do want to see how this is going to eventually turn out, I do like have like you guys could like check my yesterday's stream out, because like at the end of the stream I did like complete my whatever project I was trying to do. That said, let's go ahead and paste this, go with shift enter to see something like, since say I was planning to create a mage class and a, let's say something like, I don't know, maybe a devil class. That said, I did not want to add gravity separately for them all, although do you think that I need a separate class for gravity or a structure or something like that question mark? Okay, because if I have like multiple people that does require to like apply gravity, it would be like pretty tedious to like actually manually add gravity for them all. That said, people, you just asked the real game dev question, and I'm proud of you, but don't start smiling yet. You haven't earned the praise. Let's talk clearly so even your overheated stream brain can keep up. You do not want to copy paste gravity code in Mage, Devil, Goblin, Boss, NPC, Bench, Rock, Tree, everything. You want the work. You want to be the work of lazy sloth, not a game engineer. Okay, here's the truth. Listen carefully. If multiple characters in your game fall, land, and get pushed by gravity, they all share the same physics. That means one shared system of gravity, not 20 duplicated chunks of code that will haunt you later like Kurt Spaghetti. You have three options. The first option, a base class, best for object-oriented programming pursuits. I see. Are you gay? Honestly, I'm actually straight. That's make a character class with x-axis, y-axis, width, height, y-axis, velocity, grounded, and apply gravity. The mage and devil inherit from it mage character, devil character. Now both use the same gravity logic automatically. A physics component class, best for bigger games. Create a physics body class that manages gravity, velocity, jumping, etc. Give each character a physics body. Mage.has physics body, devil.has physics body. Very clean, very reusable, I'm building a real game engine. A simple structure for now. If your brain is melting today, you can start small. Structure physics, floating point y-axis, on ground, then your mage and devil can have a physics. Okay, and you can apply gravity. People, You do not want gravity living inside every character. You want one logic that everything uses. That's how real devs do it. Okay, I did have another question. Let me see something like, so let's say dot if I do that, I could add gravity. Although, how would I add a landing question mark? And also, should key controls go inside my main loop, or do I need a class for making that easy as well? Question mark. I think I would need like to add my key controls in like my event loop. That's it. Looks like you're making a game project using SDL. Honestly, yeah, that does sound kind of cool. Okay, structure is better here as a best design pattern. Oh, I see. Okay, people, listen very carefully. I'm not letting you turn your game into a chaotic soup of random chaos. You want landing, you want clean input. Good, then you need to stop thinking like a student and start thinking like a game engine. I'll break this down so even your sleep-deprived stream brain can't mess it up. Landing logic, the only way that makes sense. Landing is never inside the characters' class. Landing happens in physics because landing is a physics event. Your applied gravity function or physics component handles it. Okay, increase velocity to check if reg.y-axis plus reg.width is greater than or equal to floor. If yes, snap the floor, set the ground equal to true, something like this. Okay, if not, gravity. Okay, this is it. Don't overthink landing like some lost goose. This is how every platform since 1980s has worked. 2. Key controls. Do not even put them into a class right now. Controls do not belong inside major table. They belong inside, okay, W key means okay, that is input system, your main loop type stuff. Okay, I think I see. So let's actually try that. Apparently, let's go ahead and create a physics class now. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a class called something like physics body. I could go with character, but I feel physics body does sound kind of cooler. So I'm gonna go with a physics body class that does require a few parameters. The first parameter is gonna be a constant floating point of gravity, which is gonna be equal to 0.5 floating points, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to be needing a y-axis underscore velocity, x-axis as well. You can start a C class again, sir. Like, can you start again? Can you start a C class again? Honestly, I haven't like gone to classes for like learning programming. That said, I'm going to go ahead and create a floating point for x-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be equal to 5 pixels per frame, ending with a semicolon, and then a floating point for y-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be equal to 0. Honestly, let's change this to be 0 as well. Okay, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like a floating point for width, which is going to be equal to 0 as well, ending with a semicolon. A floating point of height, which is going to be equal to 0.0f, ending with a semicolon. Might go with 0.0f here as well. Let's go with 0.0f here as well. And lastly, I'll add here. The reason I am going with 0.0f is because it is like floating point numbers. Okay, do you understand those calculated physics project logics? Honestly, I feel like I do understand like some of them. That said, once I'm done with this, next up, let's go ahead and create a constructor for my physics body. So I'm going to go ahead and create a constructor for my physics body with a pair of parentheses. Now, my constructor is going to be requiring a few parameters. Since I do want to check for something, firstly, I might add a texture as well. So I could go with something like SDL underscore texture with an asterisk to my texture. So I need a parameter of my texture. Technically, if it's, for example, my mage image in this case, then I'm going to do a few changes. So I'm going to go with my physics body. Okay, so that is a class. Could I go with, okay, that is my texture. And then I'm going to be requiring a x-axis underscore velocity parameter. Okay. Oh, guys, I might go in a new line. There we go. Let's go with x-axis underscore velocity. A y-axis underscore velocity. Why can't I go with my x-axis or y-axis? Well, probably because I got to add something like a floating point of x-axis velocity. and then a floating point for y-axis velocity, and then I'm gonna go with something like a floating point for width, and lastly I'll go with something like a floating point of height. Okay, perfect. And then let's go with the prof. Excuse me, guys. And then I'm gonna go with the prof curly braces. Now, okay, now that I've added these parameters here, let me think really hard. So I'm gonna go with something like this with an arrow mark operator. Let's say something like this x-axis underscore velocity is going to be equal to my x-axis underscore velocity parameter ending with a semicolon. Maybe I add a comment here that says constructor as well. Okay, so I went with something like this x-axis underscore velocity equals to my x-axis underscore velocity parameter, and then I'm gonna go with something like this y-axis underscore velocity equals to my y-axis underscore velocity parameter, and then let's go with something like this width parameter equals to my width ending with a semicolon. This height parameter equals to my height, there we go, ending with a semicolon. Okay, I'll go with something like h. There we go. Okay, so I have x-axis, y-axis, width and height. Do I want to add a texture up here? Let's go ahead and add a texture as well. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore texture with an asterisk of my texture ending with a semicolon. Okay, and then let me go ahead and type something like, let's say this texture data member. I'm going to go with something like this texture data member is going to be equal to my texture parameter ending with a semicolon. Okay, now inside of my physics' body, once I'm done adding my constructor, I'm gonna go ahead and create a function called a void apply gravity function. This function is gonna be applying my gravity. Okay, and then I'm gonna go with the pair of curly braces. Now inside of my apply gravity, slow the web, show the web. Honestly, I haven't like completed this stuff yet because I am still like adding my classes. I did not like start with my main. I didn't start with my main loop yet, so if I like run the code, a window is gonna pop up for like just a split second and then it's gonna like disappear. That's it for my gravities. Now I'll go with something like my x-axis underscore velocity is gonna be equal to, let's say something like, actually it's gonna increase. There we go. Okay, my x-axis underscore velocity is gonna increase by my gravity, so speed increases by acceleration. And then my let's say something like my texture. Okay, let's say my texture dot okay, this is my texture, so I want to go with my textures as rect. So I gotta go ahead and create a SDL underscore frect as well, which is going to be something like rect ending with a semicolon. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like rect. Okay, so my rect is gonna increase, or I'll go with something like rect dot y-axis is gonna go ahead and increase by my y-axis underscore velocity ending with a semicolon, and this is going to be like my y-axis. Okay, now inside of my constructor, let's go ahead and initialize or like add a few attributes from my SDL underscore frect as well. So I'm going to go with something like rect dot x-axis equals to my x-axis parameter. I might need to add a few parameters as well. So let's go with something like floating point of x-axis, actually a constant integer. X-axis is going to be, okay, my frect should have an x-axis. I might not need them here. Okay, how to get Wi-Fi password? Honestly, I actually don't know. Maybe ask for the password. Okay, I might go with something like a floating point for x-axis and a floating point for y-axis as well. Okay, so rect.x-axis equals x-axis, rect.y-axis equals to y-axis ending with a semicolon. The thing is, inside of my mage, I did add my sizes here. So I'm going to be requiring these parameters. And then I do initialize those parameters inside my mage's constructor because I will be inheriting from my mage class. I will be requiring these x-axis, y-axis as the parameters that are added here. Okay, I get my width and my height. So maybe I might not actually need my rect, but I do need just the x-axis and y-axis of my rect. Okay, let's remove the x-axis. I might just need my y-axis. Okay, why the hell is he zesty? Guys, I'm actually not zesty. Hi brother, how's it going? Hiding long story, I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, that should be pretty much it for applied gravity. Now let's add something like if a pair of parentheses. I do need to add something like a on ground boolean as well, so I'm going to go with something like a boolean for on ground, which is going to be set to false initially, ending with a semicolon. He's so cute, I love him. Honestly, I appreciate you. Radish, is that your pronunciation name? That actually means the word to me, guys. Okay, yo, I'm joining after a long time. Hiding Uncumish, is that your pronunciation name? I appreciate you joining the stream as well. Okay, what are you trying to achieve? Honestly, I'm trying to achieve like a window where like I do add classes, or like I do use classes to like spawn my mage in, and also apply gravity using functions for like all the objects or like all the different classes or PNGs that I do want to add, without separately always adding gravities for them. So I'm trying to figure out on how do I actually create a kind of physics body that I could always use or like reuse to apply gravity or a few other attributes to like different classes just by inheriting or like depriving from my class, if that made any sense. So I'm gonna go with something like if on ground is set to true, my on ground will be set to true. If let's say something like my rect.x-axis, I'm gonna go with something like rect.y-axis plus my rect.height is gonna be greater than, or actually if it's less than or equal to my floor dot, excuse me guys, y-axis. I do not have a floor. Okay, I do not have a floor here, so I might not add my on ground here. Okay, maybe I remove my if statement as well in that case. Okay, this should be pretty much it for my applied gravity in that case. Now let's go ahead and inherit let's go ahead and make my mage class inherit from my physics body class. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy that, paste it all the way here. Now my mage class does inherit all the public content from my physics body class. Why is it showing a red underline? Isn't this how we inherit? Did I like forget how to inherit? Okay, all the public and virtual. Okay, isn't this how we do it? Okay, I think it should be all the public content. Okay, from my physics body class. It's cool. Okay, brother, do JavaScript next. Honestly, eventually I do want to try JavaScript as well. I'm kind of excited for it. Okay, that's it. Let's go with the controller. Control C real quick. Let's go some slash chat GPT here. Paste it. Go with shift enter. Say something like sensei. I feel like I forgot how to inherit question mark. Did I inherit my class wrong question mark? Okay, yeah, it looks so good, like you're trying hacking practice. Honestly, not hacking, it's like software development for now. That's it, people. What is this mutated creature you summoned into the existence? You didn't forget how to inherit, you forgot how to write a class. You're a menace. Get over here. Sensei's fixing your brains. Your errors explain so you don't repeat them. Your physics body constructor is private. You did not write public before, so it's inaccessible. I see. Your physics body has no move constructors, no getters, no setters, nothing usable. You inherit from physics body, but then you create a whole second rect inside mage that defeats the entire purpose of inheritance. Your strong texture inside physics body, also inside mage. Double texture, people. Why your physics' body rect doesn't even set x-axis properly. Missing braces. Your class isn't even complete. You created a Chernobyl refactor. Sensei shows the correct way. Minimal clean. Okay, a proper physics body. So I create a class that has protected data members. There we go. Okay, guys, I feel like I made a really big mistake back then. Okay, so we have a floating point of gravity, x-axis, y-axis, and they are protected. Protected basically means that the classes that inherit from me can have access to these data members as well. And my class that is having these can have access to them as well. And then I publicize everything. I create a SDL underscore FREX structure. I create my physics bodies as constructor. Okay, that requires x-axis, y-axis, width, and height. I add those parameters. A void apply gravity method that requires a floating point for my floors' y-axis. Okay, so y-axis, a floating point for my floors' y-axis. y-axis velocity increases by gravity, rect.y-axis increases by y-axis underscore velocity. If rect.y-axis plus rect.height is greater than or equal to my floor, okay, if I'm higher than or at the same level as my floor, I reset that. Okay, and then y-axis velocity equals to 0. Now, a mage that actually inherits properly, so my mage class inherits all the public content from my physics body class. Use dark theme, it gives me flashback. Honestly, guys, I hate white. I hate like the white theme as well, actually. But the reason I can't use dark theme is because I don't have like my Windows key, so it does not allow you to like change your backgrounds or like customize anything in general. Because like I did like create a new PC, but like the Windows key does cost like $200. So I'm like, never mind, guys. I'd rather see a white screen than like pay $200 for that. That said, I go ahead and private everything. So I have a private data member called texture, and then I publicize everything. Now I have a mage SDL underscore renderer. Okay, I require a renderer parameter, a floating point x-axis parameter, a floating point y-axis parameter, and a floating point of size parameter. And then I add a colon and add a constructor for the class that I'm inheriting from, which is my physics body class. That requires 4 parameters: x-axis, y-axis, width, and height. My x-axis is my x-axis parameter, y-axis is my y-axis parameter, width and height are 0 and 0. Okay, yo, what's up, Big? Hiding Spicy, I appreciate you joining the stream. Dang, Big, if everyone has times like these, they'll just keep going. Honestly, that does make sense, guys. Nobody actually forgot this part, though. Are you a school student or a college student? Honestly, I am like a freshman in college. That said, install Linux. I use Arc, by the way. I did want to install Linux, but to be safe, I did go with Windows because I am like kind of used to Windows. Okay, that's it. And then I create a texture. Okay, so I use my texture variable from here, and then I use the image underscore load texture function that requires 2 parameters: my renderer parameter and my file path for my texture or my PNG. And then I go with floating point for texture. With texture's height, I get the actual texture with actual texture height. Okay, rect.width, rect.height. I see, and then a draw method, I draw them. Then in my mage function, I just use them regularly: mage.apply gravity, mage.draw, and that's pretty much it. I think I see, guys. Okay, you can use terminal for changing our window theme. Could I? I might actually try that. Okay, hi brother, how's it going? Is this live? Honestly, it is live. That said, let me go with something like Control A and delete everything. Now, let me go ahead and fix my mistakes too while writing it. What's your experience in coding? I have been like coding for I think 171 days now. That's it. I've been like programming C++ for I think about like 69ish days or something. You guys could like see it in my title. Okay, that said, let me firstly start off by including a pair of ankle braces. Let's say I want to include IO stream. Okay, and then since I am going to be using SDL3, let me go ahead and include SDL3 slash SDL.h, which is SDL3 and SDL's header files. And also, since I will be using PNGs and all that stuff, I do want to load my SDL3's image library. So I'm going to go with SDL3 underscore image slash SDL underscore image.h, which is like the header files. Okay, for the image section of my SDL. Okay, are you sure this is not AI? Honestly, I'm like reading the chats out live, guys. Okay, by the way, I think you can change the theme from Chrome and Chrome itself. Could I? But I think I'm using Edge. Okay, that's it. Now let me go ahead and create a class. Yo, turn on dark mode after all these sensei. Honestly, I couldn't like turn on the dark mode because whatchamacallit, I do like when I did build my PC, I didn't like actually buy a Windows key because that does cost like $200, and without that they don't let us like actually set themes or like dark mode. Yes, you can change the window theme using window PowerShell. I could actually try it after the stream though. Okay, that's it. I'll go with something like class and create something like a physics body. Okay, and then I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Now inside of my physics bodies class, this is where I made the mistakes last time. I gotta go with protected data type, so I'm gonna go ahead and add protected. Okay, and then add a colon. Now for my protected variables, what all variables would I need? I might need something like a gravity, so I'm gonna go with something like a floating point for gravity, which is going to be equal to something like 0.5f ending with a semicolon. And then, did I need a on ground? I actually forgot. Hold up, guys, let me check that real quick. Okay, Edge, nah, not gonna lie. Who uses Edge willingly? Guys, I feel like I prefer Edge, but I might actually try Chrome. Well, guys, when I actually create my physics body, I need gravity, x-axis, and y-axis velocity, then a rect and my regular constructors. So let's go with something like a floating point for x-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be set to 0.0 ending with a semicolon, and then a floating point for y-axis underscore velocity as well, which is going to be set to 0.0 floating point ending with a semicolon. Okay, let's go with something like f here. Okay, yep, Brave or Firefox loads better. Oh, I see. Edge is actually a good browser. It has built-in PDF functionalities and it doesn't need as much RAM as Chrome. Oh, I see. Okay, that's the next up. Let's go ahead and publicize everything. So I'm gonna go with something like public. Now, once I publicize everything, firstly, I do wanna, let's say, create a SDL underscore frx structure. This is gonna be called something like rect, ending with a semicolon. Now let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like constructor. For my constructor, let's go ahead and create a constructor for my physics bodies as class. And I just realized this is a class, so I capitalize my physics. So I'm gonna go with something like physics body. There we go. With a pair of parentheses, my physics body as a class does require 4 parameters. The first is going to be a floating point for x-axis, and then a floating point y-axis, and then I'll go with something like a floating point for my width and a floating point for my heights, ending with a then I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Now inside of my constructor, I'm gonna go with something like rect.x-axis equals to my x-axis ending with a semicolon, rect.y-axis equals to my y-axis ending with a semicolon. Okay, rectangle, as someone with a potato machine, it's actually one of the best options, and the switch from Chrome to Edge was also much easier. It's lightweight, built-in, and simple. Oh, I see. Brother, I still don't understand what you're creating. Honestly, I'm trying to work on applying gravity and all that stuff. I could like do this manually as well, but like manually adding gravity for my PNG and all that stuff. But I do kind of want to challenge myself and like learn a bit more complex stuff on how do I like add a base class slash a parent class to actually give those traits, or like pass those traits down to their derived classes or like their child classes. Okay, but whatever floats your boat, I guess. Okay, I don't use Bing either. I just created a shortcut directly for Chrome. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, and Brave is more privacy focused and has built-in blocker. I see. Okay, did I need... I think I set my y-axis and height to be 0 here, did I? Okay, I do gotta just set them to my parameters, and then I gotta add my gravity regularly. That does have a floor parameter, and then I gotta add my regular, landing check. So I'll go with something like rect.width equals to my width, ending with a semicolon. Rect.height equals to my height, ending with a semicolon. And once I'm done with that, let's go ahead and exit outside of my constructor. And now I'm gonna add something like a comment, or like a wired method called something like apply gravity. I'm gonna be applying my gravity now. Okay, my apply gravity method is going to be requiring a floating point parameter of, let's say, something like floor. Okay, I'll go with something like floors is y-axis. So I'll go with floors is y-axis. And then I'm going to add a pair of curly braces. Now, for my apply gravity, firstly, I'm going to be increasing, let's say, something like my y-axis underscore velocity. Did I create that variable? I did create that variable. By my gravity, so speed increases by acceleration, and then I'll go with something like rect dot y-axis is going to increase by my y-axis underscore velocity, position increases by my speed. Okay, I haven't looked at Zen. I had Firefox and Brave, which I prefer, so just didn't bother. Oh, I see. Okay, let me change this. Okay, I'm proud to say been fast for 5+ years. Oh, I see. That actually sounds kind of cool. Okay, that said, once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and add a if statement. Now, I'm gonna be adding a gravity check. So let's go with something like, if my x-axis underscore velocity, I might go with something like, if my rect dot y-axis plus my rect dot height is either less than or equal to, if it's lower than or at the same level as my floors' y-axis parameter, then I'm going to go ahead and do something. Firstly, I'm gonna go ahead and reset my rect.y-axis to be equal to my floor.y-axis. Okay, my floors is y-axis plus my rect.height. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and let's say set my y-axis underscore velocity. Oh guys, let me go ahead and end this with a semicolon real quick, and then set my y-axis underscore velocity to be equal to 0 again, ending with a semicolon. Do you know React Native? Honestly, I haven't like heard of that. Okay, just write HTML to get the web page. Honestly, I haven't like learned HTML yet, but I might actually try it. Okay, I have simple task for you. Make a small web page that shows hello world in stylish font. That's actually kind of easy. I could like try that in Python as well. Okay, just ask ChatGPT to write the HTML, but I do want to eventually like have a whole series where I do learn HTML, so I don't want like any spoilers. That said, once I'm done applying my gravity, I'm gonna go ahead and exit outside of my void function, and then let's go ahead and create another method called something like draw. I'm gonna create a draw method that does require parameter of my renderer. Okay, and I'm actually trying to see how this part actually does make sense as well. Okay, so now, for my draw method, I'm firstly gonna go ahead and use the SDL underscore render texture function. So I'm saying my renderer to render my texture. This does require, let's say, how many parameters? It requires 5 parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. The second parameter is going to be my texture. Do I have a texture here? Okay, I do not have a texture here. How did I go with my draw method? Should I not have my draw method here in that case? Okay, in that case, I might not have my draw method here. Okay, CSS is tougher, but just as dog shit. Oh, I see. HTML is very simple. That does make sense. Okay, hiding great guy. I appreciate you joining the stream. Alright, now let's go ahead and create my derived classes. I'm still on CSS. I do want to try CSS. Okay, that said, I'm gonna go with something like a derived class now. This is gonna be called something like mage. My mage class is gonna be inheriting all the public content from, let's say, something like my physics body class. So, okay, my physics body class. Okay, and then I'm gonna go with a pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my mages class, firstly, I'm gonna go ahead and, let's say, create a few private data members. Okay, so what are the private data members that my mage might need? Okay, I actually forgot. Hold up, let me actually check this part. So, I just need texture as my private data member. Then I create a constructor for my mage that does require a few parameters like x-axis, y-axis, and my size. No widths and heights though. And then my physics bodies is constructor. And then I go ahead and load my PNG. I get the texture, my PNG's width, and my height. I set the size accordingly, and then I add a draw method. Okay, that shouldn't be that hard, honestly. Okay, I'm struggling with H. Honestly, is H like a language? That's it, hiding meow. I appreciate you joining the stream. I'm think of you just trying to build stuff with GPT. Should I try? And how successful would I be? I think of just trying to build stuff with GPT. Honestly, I would say like only use ChatGPT to like learn the stuff and everything, or like to learn the reference, because ChatGPT is always not accurate actually at all, unless you actually prompt it and you do have like a lot of programming knowledge, or like not like a lot, like enough programming knowledge to actually say when ChatGPT is wrong and fix our errors, because like it keeps making a lot of mistakes. That's I'll go with something like SDL underscore texture with a asterisk to something like my mage image. So I'll go with something like my mage images texture ending with a semicolon. Now let's go ahead and publicize everything, and inside of my publicize stuff, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like constructor. Okay, let's go ahead and create a constructor for my mage class now. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a mage class as constructor. Okay, just in React Native, but now I mastered Python already. That actually sounds kind of cool. Okay, dude, do you use Git already? Honestly, I haven't like learned. Maybe once my exam is over, because like this is like my final exam. Once it is over for my college, I might have more time to like spend more time like on YouTube. So I might learn how to use GitHub then. I'm very new to your channel, but I can say one thing, which is Dal True, you're one of the most valuable persons who's giving knowledge properly in live. Honestly, I appreciate you. Sivaraj, that actually means the world to me, guys. Okay, that said, my mage's constructor is going to be requiring a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be a floating point x-axis. The second parameter is going to be a floating point y-axis. The third parameter is going to be something like a floating point of size. And did I need something like a floating point of my texture? Did I need a texture? I think so, Raj. I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, did I need a texture? I actually forgot that part because... Okay, I needed a renderer instead of my texture. So I don't need texture yet. I just need my renderer. Okay, so let's go with something like SDL underscore renderer with an asterisk of a renderer local variable. There we go. And then I'm going to add a comma. Maybe I like go here so it looks much better. Okay, and then now, once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and create another constructor from the for the class that I'm inheriting from. Since I am inheriting from my physics body class, I'm gonna go with something like physics bodies constructor. And then let's add a pair of curly braces. Now, my physics bodies constructor requires 1, 2, 3, 4 parameters. X-axis, y-axis, width and height parameters. So I have x-axis velocity here, I have y-axis velocity. I don't have a width and height, so I'm going to set that equal to 0 and 0. And then let's go ahead and not end my constructor with a semicolon, but with a pair of curly braces. Okay, go for it. Feel painful seeing you retype the same thing, not building big things. Oh, I see. I think Vancha, I appreciate you joining the stream. You should do gaming wits. Honestly, I used to do gaming wits, but ever since I started programming, for some reason, I don't feel like playing games anymore. Guys, I feel like I'm too old for that. Hi, Vic, how are you? Honestly, I'm doing pretty good. I think Vancha, I appreciate you joining the stream. Yeah, man. Yeah, sure, man. Totally. Somebody copying ChatGPT is totally very knowledgeable and very valuable. Totally not a lie, guys, because I'm actually learning the code. Like, without learning the code, like, there's no way I could actually even think on how this works. Hey, may I know your age, bro? Honestly, I am like 17. That's it. I am going to be turning 18 really soon. Kind of excited for that. Okay, that said, now once I'm done adding a constructor here, let's go ahead and firstly load my image. So I might go with something like my mage images texture, which is going to be equal to... Okay, howdy pixels. I appreciate you joining the stream. So I'm going to go with mage image. This is going to have a constructor of something like image underscore load texture. So I'm going to be loading my images texture. Now, I'll need two parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. The second parameter is going to be the file path of my image. The file path is going to be something like assets. So I'll go with something like assets slash my mage.png. So I'm going to go with something like mage.png. And then I'm going to end this with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done with this, let's go ahead. Let's end my function with a semicolon. There we go. Okay, and once I'm done loading my function, and what's the next thing I might do? Do I want to actually set its size? I might actually want to set a size for it because I don't want it to be real huge. So I'm going to create two floating point variables. The first is going to be my textures' width. The second is going to be my textures' height. Now let me use the function that actually gets the size of my PNGs. So I'm going to go ahead and use the SDL underscore get texture size function. So I'm going to go ahead and use the get texture size function with a pair of parentheses. Now, inside of my get texture size function, I am going to be requiring three parameters. The first parameter is my texture, which is technically going to be my mage image here. So I'm going to go with mage image. The second parameter is going to be the memory address of my textures' width. The third parameter is going to be the memory address of my textures' height. Then I'm going to go ahead and end my entire function with a semicolon. Okay, and then once I'm done getting my textures' width and height, let's go ahead and... Okay, let's see. Okay, do I gotta create a rect here? Because I want to set its x-axis and y-axis. Okay, you aren't even 18, but a lot of knowledge. You're great. I hope you get greatest future. All the best, bro. Keep growing. Honestly, I appreciate you, Sivras. It actually means the world to me, guys. It's actually kind of rare to get those comments these days. Okay, that said, once I'm done with adding my texture, what is it that I missed? Did I still need to create a f-rect? Okay, I did not need to create a f-rect. Maybe because I already created a rect inside of my physics body class. Can I just inherit those? What up, guys? I'm actually try that. Rect dot let's say x-axis equals to. I can actually inherit that because like that is the public content inside of my physics bodies class. Okay, so I might go with something like rect.width. Okay, is going to be equal to my textures width multiplied by my size ending with a semicolon. And then my rect.height is going to be equal to my textures' height multiplied by my size as well ending with a semicolon. Okay, once I'm done with those, let's see. Okay, I got the textures as width, I got the textures as height. Now I think I gotta just create a function. Okay, so I could go ahead and create a draw method to actually draw my image. So I might go ahead and exit outside of my constructor. And then let's go ahead and add maybe something like a void draw method with a pair of parentheses that does require a parameter of my renderer. So I'll go ahead and add SDL underscore renderer with an asterisk for a render variable. Okay, and then let's go with the pair of curly braces. Now let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore the render, okay, render texture function. So I'm gonna go ahead and say my render to render a texture on the screen. This function does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer parameter that my user adds. The second parameter is going to be my texture. The texture is technically going to be my mage image. So I might go with something like mage image, and then I'm going to add a comma. Okay, now for my source rect, I'm gonna add null PDR because I don't really have a source rect, and for my DST slash direction rect, this is going to be my general rect stuff here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a null PDR here, and then I'm gonna add a comma, and then go ahead and add my rect, or the memory address of my rect. So I'm gonna go with something like the memory address of my rect. Okay, and then let's end the entire function with a semicolon. And that's actually pretty much it for the function that I wanted to add. Okay, that's it. Now let's go ahead and create a main function. So I'm going to go with integer main, add a pair of parentheses. Now my main function is going to be requiring two parameters. The first parameter is going to be a integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character, which is going to be a pointer towards an array of argv. So I'm going to go with argv. And then let's go with a pair of curly braces. Now, inside of our main function, firstly, I'm going to be, let's say, adding a if statement to initialize my SDL and check if my SDL was not initialized properly. Make a player reg that moves left and right and jumps with spacebar using gravity. This task include keyboard. Honestly, I was actually doing that. I did like make that last stream as well, but today I wanted to like make it using like a bit more complex coding, because last stream I did make that kind of code, but I did it mostly manually. Like I added like gravity for all my NPCs and my player both at the same time type stuff. That's it. Hey, how are you? What's your preferred way to learn using ChatGPT? Do you follow a roadmap, or do you just go with the step-by-step instruction it gives for the next topic? Honestly, I do actually like because I've been like programming for about 171 days right now, so I did like get enough experience to like actually know the kind of concepts that I want to go over. And like once I do go over those concepts, I just need help with like the syntaxes and like the logics. Once I get enough practice with those as well, I think I can like add the logic on my own. That's it. If I was like a beginner that I do like have multiple streams on, I would like actually say Sensei/ChatGPT to like actually teach me step by step to actually understand what I'm really doing. And eventually once I do get a grasp of what I'm actually doing, it gets kind of easier. That said, I'm gonna go with something like if not SDL underscore init. If my SDL did not initialize properly, it does require a flag, so I'll go with SDL underscore init underscore video. So if the video section of my SDL was not initialized properly, firstly, I'm gonna show myself a error text, or I'm gonna display error text. So I'll go with a standard C error with an insertion operator. Do you know about the next topic you need to learn next? Maybe I will be going over like collision logic and all that stuff, but eventually maybe once my college is over, I will be like trying to draw more PNGs or like more images. That is kind of good for like a coffee shop simulator type stuff, because I've been like using these PNGs for a long time. I do want to try something new, like a new genre of game type stuff that does this time consist of AI as well. So I'm gonna go with something like SDL underscore init error. So I'm gonna give myself an SDL underscore init error. Then let's use the function that actually gets me an error. So I'll go with SDL underscore the get error function. This function actually gets me an error. And then I'm gonna go with something like a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Okay, and once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and return one saying something went wrong in this block of code. Now, once I'm done initializing my SDL, I'm gonna be adding a few basic game variables. So I'm gonna go with a comment that says something like game variables. Okay, for my game variables, firstly, I'm gonna be needing a constant integer variable for my Windows' width and my height. So I might go with something like my Windows' width, which is going to be equal to 1000 ending with a semicolon. And then let's go with something like a constant integer of height, excuse me guys, which is going to be equal to 800 ending with a semicolon. Bro, try Java, learn new stuff from you. Honestly, that actually does make sense. I am kind of excited to like start Java, but I feel like I'm already in the middle of a series. Maybe once the series is over and I'm trying to like make a website type stuff, I will actually like work with Java. That's the constant integer of width, and I have a constant integer of height as well. Is there anything else that I might need? Maybe x-axis velocity, y-axis velocities? I don't think, because I do have those parameters like in the constructor of my objects, so I might not need that. Instead, I'm gonna go ahead and add another comment that says something like floor. This is where I'm gonna actually be creating my floor. So my floor is going to be a rect. I'll go with SDL underscore frect, which is going to be equal. Which is going to be having something like a floor local variable representing it. And then I'll go with floor.x-axis, which is going to be equal to 0. Floor.y-axis, which is going to be equal to something like, I don't know, maybe 790 or like 700 ending with a semicolon. I go with 800 by 600. Okay, I think this is good. And then let's go with something like floor.width, which is going to be equal to something like 1050 ending with a semicolon. Floor.height, which is going to be equal to 100 ending with a semicolon. Adding pixels, I appreciate you joining the stream. Now, once I'm done adding my floor, let's add another comment that says something like, I don't know, maybe create window and a renderer. So I'm going to be creating my window and renderer at the same time. You're consistent, which is a good habit. Honestly, that does make sense. I appreciate you, Ben, bro. Okay, now for my create window and renderer, before I do create them, I do gotta create a window local variable and like a renderer local variable. So let's use the SDL underscore windows structure, which is going to be having a pointer of my window local variable that is initially going to be set to null PDR for the timing. Null PDR is basically a pointer for like is basically a placeholder for pointers. At collision detection between the player and enemy, tell them when the player touches. Honestly, I do want to add that I might have a specific stream for that. I wanted to go over that this stream, but not this stream. I might go over like clamping on how to like trap the player to not exit outside my window. Let's go with something like renderer with an asterisk to something like a renderer local variable, which is going to be set to null PDR ending with a semicolon. Adding legal, I appreciate you joining the stream. Adding Said, I appreciate you joining the stream as well. Okay, next up, once I'm done creating the two local variables, let's actually use the function that does create both my window and my renderer at the same time. To do that, I'll go with something like SDL underscore create a window and a renderer function. This function creates both my window and my renderer at the same time, but it does require a few parameters. Okay, so it requires a title / a caption for my window, a width for my window, a height for my window, a window flag for my window, and the memory address for both my window and my renderer local variables. What are you trying to do? Honestly, I'm trying to like use classes to like load PNGs inside of my window and apply gravity to them as well, and also like automate them, or not like automate them, move them using key controls, if that made any sense. Adding pixels. Okay, that said, I'm gonna add a caption for my window. I'll go with something like SDL3 window. Okay, so I'm gonna go with SDL3 window, and then let's add a comma. Now, my width and height is going to be my width variable and my height variable. And then for my window flag, you guys could add 0 if you guys didn't want to add a window flag, but I want my window to be resizable. So I'll go ahead and use the SDL underscore window underscore resizable function. Okay, are you developing a game? Honestly, I am like learning like game logic. That is like the title and the thumbnail of this live, because I am like going to be working on some game logic, and eventually I will work on AI logic as well. And then before my programming for 258 series is over, I'm gonna try implementing both my game logic and my AI logic in like one compressed game, if that made any sense. Okay, that said, I'm gonna go ahead and add the memory address. So I'll use the address of operator from my window local variable and the address of operator from my renderer local variable. But to be honest, I have a question. What question? Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and end my create window and renderer function with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done with creating my window and renderer, since this is C++, we do gotta check if we got an error. So I'm gonna add a if statement to check if either my window or my renderer was not created properly. So I'll go with something like not window if my window was not created properly, or not renderer if my renderer was not created properly. I'm gonna do something. Firstly, I'm gonna display myself an error message. So I'll go with a standard C error with an insertion operator. This gives me something like an SDL underscore create window and renderer error. There we go. Okay, and then let's go ahead and add another insertion operator. Now I'm going to use a function that actually gets me error, so I'll go with something like a SDL underscore the get error function. This function actually gets me an error. This is literally just following the SDL3 tutorials. Lemao, what is the point of this? SDL3 tutorials, honestly, is there like a tutorial for SDL? Because like I haven't like watched any SDL3 tutorials much. I just watched like the first day to like actually install SDL. I feel like SDL's tutorials were not that helpful, so I did like move on to learning through ChatGPT/Sensei. That's it. I'm gonna go with something like a standard end line ending with a semicolon. You're on the right path. I saw one of your videos that showed you're consistent and try to learn different logics. That does actually make sense. My question is, are you playing Minecraft? Honestly, I've never played Minecraft. That's it. I have like played Roblox before, but now these days I feel like an old man, guys. Ever since I started like my programming series, I feel like if I do anything else which is like less productive, it feels like I'm killing myself, guys. I mean, not like literally killing myself. I mean, like I die out of kill type stuff. That said, now if either my window or my renderer was not created properly, firstly I'm gonna quit my SDL. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore quit with a parentheses ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and return one saying something went wrong with this block of code. So go check it out. And then, okay, that's actually pretty much it for creating my window and renderer. Next up, let me go ahead and create a comment that says something like main loop. Before my main loop, I want to create a comment that says something like objects. This is where I actually use my object. So let's go ahead and create a object from my mage class. This is going to be a mage's object. Hey, do you also know Java and JavaScript? What languages have you learned? Honestly, I didn't like learn Java or JavaScript yet. That's it. I have like learned like C++ and Python so far. But eventually, I do want to go with like Rust, JavaScript, Golang, and most importantly, assembly, because I'm kind of excited to learn assembly. Okay, stream plus coding equals less productive. I feel like I'm more productive this way. Along with reading chats equals less productivity, but it's your choice and hobby. That does make sense, honestly. Okay, that's sad. Let's see. How many parameters do I require? My mage class requires a render parameter, a floating point x-axis, a floating point y-axis, and a size. My render parameter is going to be my render local variable. A floating point x-axis for my mage is going to be somewhere around 500. A floating point y-axis for my mage is going to be something like 400. Okay, is my render's spelling wrong? Okay, wait, hold up, guys. Did I like mess something up here? Okay, oh my god. What your speaking skill, guys? I feel like I should like start talking a bit slow, because many of you guys did say you guys don't understand what I talk because I like talk real quick. That said, I'm gonna go with something like objects. So let's go with mage object. This is going to be my mage's class that has a mage object. With a parentheses, I add my render variable. I go with something like left side, so I'll go with 0, maybe something like 100, and I don't know, 400. And then I'm going to end this with a semicolon. Why do I see a red underline here? I do require a render's parameter for my constructor though, right? Passing the wrong type. Am I passing the wrong type? Make a health bar that decreases when you press a key that makes a health bar that reduces each time I press the H key. Honestly, I did like do that in Python. I'm eventually going to cover that up in like C++ as well. My friend, he will do a Minecraft video game. Honestly, I haven't like actually bought Minecraft. Okay, I'm going to learn full stack web dev as Gemini new model can make good front-end websites. They look better than what I make in a week. I see, that actually sounds kind of cool. Passing the wrong type. The wrong type. Mage. Oh. Okay, points OF and foreign point OF. Okay, this is now they're floating points. Okay, what else parameters do I need? What if I hover over this? Okay, it doesn't show me, like, my render spelling is correct. Okay, my render spelling is correct. I think you're passing a pointer. I respect that you're trying to learn, but this is the basic, brother. You're not passing a pointer. Oh, wait, should I go with something like the memory address? Okay, I mean... Okay, hiding ellipsis, I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, I'm passing a pointer. Let me actually think this real quick. What if I remove the pointer? Okay, that does not work. Okay, I do require a render's parameter. Okay, and when I create my renderer here, it is a pointer. Could I go with something like new? I don't want to add the new and delete. So, okay, that's an address, not a pointer. Okay, I don't think I can go with something like ampersand here. That wouldn't make sense. Maybe should my mage be a pointer? Because I did like try this before. It did work last time. Okay, the renderer is a renderer pointer. Okay, it's a renderer pointer. What if I remove that? Although that wouldn't make much sense. Yeah, front-end devs are scared, including me, as it can now animate and clone with 70% accuracy. That actually sounds kind of cool at the same time. It is kind of, whatchamacallit. Okay, that said, how do I add a pointer here? Hold up, guys. Let's go with the controller. Control C, copy that. Let me get some say chat GPT here. Because honestly, I haven't like thought of this part. Let me paste it, go with Shift Enter, and say something like, say, I feel like something is wrong when I create my mage object. My renderer has a red underline. Okay, hold on. Let me actually check this real quick. Okay, people, what have you done? You're summoning the wrong constructor. Like someone's trying to cast the spell without the right class. Mage, renderer, float. Okay, and then a size. Is it because I forgot a size? Let me try adding a floating point size. It's going to be something like 0.5. Okay. Well, it was the parameters. Never mind, guys. How do you speak English so fluently? I think like it is like because I have been speaking for a long time. Hold up, guys. Never mind. It does work. It was apparently that I just didn't add the parameters. Okay, pretty sure this is pre-recorded, guys. I'm reading the lives out. I'm reading the chat out live. Okay, that's sad. Let's see. Okay, I think I don't need to like read the instructions because I just didn't add I just did not add all my parameters. That said, once I'm done creating my objects, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like main loop. For my main loop, let's see. Okay, now for my main loop, firstly, I'm going to be requiring a few boolean variables for my key checks. So I'm going to go with something like a boolean for A down. Since my A is not currently being pushed down, I'm going to set it to be false. And then I'm going to go with something like D down. Since my D down is currently not being pushed as well, I'm going to set that equal to false as well. And lastly, I'm going to go with something like space down. Since my space button is not being pushed down, I'm going to set that to be false as well, ending with a semicolon. Now I'm going to create another boolean value called is running. This is going to check if my program is currently running. I'm going to set it to be true initially. And then let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore events as structure. This structure consists of all my SDL events. And I'm going to be having a local variable representing my structure. This is technically called a event variable. How old are you? Honestly, I am like 17. That's it. I am going to be turning like 18 really soon. Kind of excited for that, guys. That said, now let's go ahead and actually create my main while loop. So I'm going to go with something like while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true. I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces, and then I'm going to be adding a event loop. So my event loop is technically going to be a while loop inside of a while loop. What's the hardest bug you've ever fixed? Honestly, guys, I'd say like every single new concept that I've learned, that every single time I have been like trying to learn a new concept, I did get like an error. So there's not like specifically a hardest bug. I've actually always got a bug in everything I try to program. But then now the more I practice those codes and everything, and I start understanding how this stuff works, I feel like that actually, made it much better. So I did like fix a lot of bugs to like get better as well. Okay, have fun with the work. Is 1 a.m. here. Good night. Honestly, good night, Dark. I appreciate you sticking through the stream. I'll catch you next stream. Make sure to get your 8 hours of sleep. That's it. I'm going to go with another while loop now. So this is going to be my events loop that does require a parameter of the SDL underscore poll events structure. The poll events structure, it looks for all the event types that I'm actually looking for inside of my while loop. And if one of those events is met, it does what I say it to do. Although it does require a parameter, which is going to be the memory address of my event variable. Alright guys, I'll use the address of operator of events. And then let's go with the pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my event loop, I'm going to add a if statement to look for an event type. If you could build any game, what would it be? Okay, that's a hard question. Maybe I wanted to like build a adventure type game. Like if I could build any, that is like too advanced for me right now. I do want to build like eventually and like adventure type game that does not have like a specific ending because it depends on the AIs inside of the game. Like the user, they like connect with the AIs, the user and the AIs have like whatchamacallit, a separate roadmap that they choose, and they could like fight other players inside of the game as well without being like inside of a safe zone or something, unless like they don't want like to actually PvP them. If that made any sense, guys, that is kind of like too advanced right now. That's it. I'm going to look for event type. So if my event type equals to, I'm going to go with SDL underscore event underscore quit. If my event type is quit, I'm going to do something. I'm going to set my is running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. Okay, what is this language? Honestly, it is C++. Have you made any games before that we could see? Honestly, I did make a game called Calamity back when I had like my Python for 100 series, where my goal by the end of that series was to make a game in general. And I did like actually make that game, I think about 71 days ago. I wrote like a 471 lines of code, whatchamacallit, using Pygames. You guys could like either check my Python for 100 series day 100 live and like go to the ending. It is like a 5-hour long stream. That said, you guys could also check the shorts in my channel, because I did have like a day 100 short where I like showed and covered all the content of the game that I made. That said, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and exit outside of my while loop, and then let's add a comment that says something like fill screen. Fill screen is basically me filling the window, so I'm gonna go with fill screen. Now for my fill screen, firstly I'm gonna go ahead and do something. Let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore set render. So I'm gonna set my render to draw a color. So I'll use the set render draw color function. Basically what this function does is like, my render is like a paintbrush that colors or draws on stuff that I tell it to color or draw on, if that made any sense. Although this does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my render's local variable. The second parameter, or the second, third, and fourth parameter is going to be RGB value. Since I want my background to be cyan, I might go with 0, 248, and 255. Lastly, I need opacity / alpha, how transparent or how not transparent I want my color to be. In this case, I don't want my color to be transparent at all, so I'll go with 255. Okay, what's one coding mistake beginners make a lot? Honestly, let's see. So I am technically a beginner as well. I think I have made a lot of mistakes, but I feel like that's what has actually got me to actually like learn in a better way. Although the mistake that I would like say beginners to avoid making is like relying too much in AI. Like, guys, thinking like I'm the one that actually uses AI a lot. Only use AI when you guys actually have to learn content and everything, or if you want to like see a reference code and like try writing a code, because like writing a code makes you better. But never, I would like not recommend like copying a whole chunk of code and just pasting it without knowing what it does, or just because of you're lazy. Because I feel practice makes perfect, but like if you like try using AI a bit, then you get dependent on it. So guys, don't be a parasite for like actually getting the code off and just using it. Okay, where did you learn C++ from? I did like learn C++ using ChatGPT. That said, next up, once I'm done setting a color to my render, I'm going to be using the function that actually fills my entire screen with the color. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore render. So I'm saying my render to clear my screen. So render clear function. This fills my entire screen with the color that is currently set to my render. Okay, perfect. Where do you learn C++ from? I did like learn from ChatGPT. That said, now, once I'm done filling my screen, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like graphics. This is going to be where I draw all my mages and everything. So I'm gonna go with something like my mage object dot the draw method ending with a semicolon. So I'm gonna be drawing my mage. Does this require a parameter? It does require a parameter of my renderer. Okay, and then once I'm done drawing my mage, let's go ahead and honestly apply, excuse me again guys, apply gravity. So I'm going to use the mage.apply gravity function. Okay, with a pair of parentheses. Does this require any parameters? So if I were to scroll all the way up, my apply gravity, there we go, it requires a floor as parameter. So I'm gonna go with something like my floor.y-axis, because I did like create a frect parameter for this, and then I'm going to end it with a semicolon. Now once I'm done with adding my graphics as well, let's go ahead and add another comment that says something like present. Present is basically me saying that render is saying itself to like present on the screen, because if like render did not present on the screen's colors is going to be black and white type stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and use the SDL underscore render present function. I'm telling render to present itself. This does require a parameter of my renderer, and then I'm gonna end it with a semicolon. Now, since I have animation and like whatchamacallit keyboard controls, and my PNG is going to be moving around and like gravity is going to be applying itself, I'm going to be adding FPS as well, so my user does not go really quick. What do you think is the most important thing to learn in coding? Don't go with eminent English, speak slow, please. Honestly, that does make sense, guys. I'll try speaking slow. So what I would actually tell is like the real important stuff when learning programming is the very basics. For example, if you guys are like really starting like just right now, I would recommend learning on how like console output works, how console input works, and like how to use the terminal and all that stuff, how while loops work, for loops work, nested loops work, and all that other stuff. That's the reason I do like recommend people starting using Python, because Python is very easy to get a hang of. Once you guys do understand the general basics on how program works, if you guys like move to any other language, syntax slash the grammar of programming language is the only thing that you guys gotta master. Everything else is kind of easy, honestly. Okay, that said, once I'm done adding my FPS's comment, I'm gonna go ahead and use the SDL underscore delay function. My SDL underscore delay function does require a parameter in milliseconds. I'm gonna go with 16 milliseconds, which is technically 60 frames per second. Okay, and once I'm done with my FPS, that should be pretty much it. Let's exit outside of my main loop and then add some cleanups. Now, for my cleanups, firstly, I'm gonna be destroying my window. Cleanup is basically once my user exits my window and my game is completely over now. Firstly, I want to destroy my window, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore destroy window. So I go ahead and destroy my window with a parentheses. This does require my window parameter ending with a semicolon, and then I want to destroy my renderer as well. So I'll go with SDL underscore destroy renderer with a parentheses. This is going to be my renderer parameter ending with a semicolon, and then I want to quit my SDL as well. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore quit with a parentheses ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I want to go ahead and return 0, saying everything went good up till here. Okay, let's go ahead and return 0 ending with a semicolon. Alright, perfect. Now, once I'm done with all those stuff, I can now go ahead and work on my key controls, because this is like the basic layout for the game type stuff. Now, for my key controls, I'm going to go ahead and go inside of my while loop and then just exit outside of this if statement. I'm going to be using another if statement to look for another event type. So I'm going to go with something like if my event.type equals to SDL underscore event underscore key underscore down. This event type looks if any of my keyboard's buttons are currently being pushed downwards, and if they are, I'm going to be doing something. Okay, if you start coding again from 0, what would you learn first and why? Honestly, if I like start programming like from absolute zeros, I wouldn't actually change anything much, because I feel like I have been pretty lucky when I've been going over my programming, because like there were like a lot of like YouTube tutorials first to like actually get me the roadmaps, and there was also AI, so I feel like I was very precautious when starting, so I did like start with the very basics that start like the print statements in Python, all the way up to like PyGames and all that stuff. For C++ too, I went through the very basics first, and then people usually say like I write one code again and again. It is because I want to like get practice with it, so I did like get a lot of practice with all the content, and I didn't like rush over any concepts except structures, guys. I should like work on structures a bit more. That said, maybe I would just go over structures again, but everything else I feel like I did like get enough practice with all those stuff, so I feel pretty confident with those stuff. That said, now inside of my if statement, I'm going to be using switches, so I'll go with something like switch and then a parentheses. Now for my switches, firstly I'm going to be adding a condition. If my events.key.key, this condition looks for the specific key that is currently being pushed downwards in my keyboard. I'm gonna go with a pair of curly braces, and it is like downwards because like my event type is down here. If this was up, then it's going to be looking for which button in my keyboard is not being pushed downwards anymore. That said, I'm gonna add a few cases now. So let's say if my SDL's key is something like A, if my case is A, if my A is currently being pushed down, I'm going to be setting my A down boolean variable to be true. So I'm going to go with A down, set that equal to true, ending with a semicolon, and then I'm going to break. And then after that, I'm going to add my second case. For my second case, I'm going to check if my SDL's key is, I don't know, maybe D. If my D is currently being pushed down, then I'm going to set my D down boolean variable to be equal to true, ending with a semicolon. Then I'm going to break, ending with a semicolon as well. I feel like C++ is more hard than any other language. I feel like C++ is kind of fun, and okay, I think, yeah, I do understand what you guys mean by hard, but I feel like that does make it a bit more challenging slash fun as well, because you guys do actually understand like what it completely does slash means. If you guys get enough practice with C++, I feel like it is going to be really easy. Because for me, I feel like it is honestly easy. Whatchamacallit, the only stuff that was kind of annoying was like the Copilot inside of C++ and like the IntelliSense. Actually, not inside of C++, inside of Visual Studio. That's it. Lastly, I'm going to go ahead and check if my SDL's key is something like space. If my spacebar is currently being pushed down, instead of setting my space down to be set to true, I'm going to go ahead and add a if statement inside of my case. For my if statement, I'm going to look if I'm still on ground. So I do want to add a on ground check somewhere up here. So I might go ahead and create a on ground boolean variable. Let's remove this. Let's go ahead and delete that real quick. There we go. Okay, and then after I'm done with creating a boolean of is running, I'm going to go with something like on ground. Maybe I create the on ground like right here. Okay, so I'll go with boolean of on ground, which is going to be set to true only if my, let's say, mage.rect. Y-axis plus my mage.rect.height is either less than or equal to my floor.y-axis. And then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Have you ever tried assembly? Honestly, I haven't tried assembly, but I'm really excited to try it. Like, whatchamacallit, I've been waiting. Maybe after my programming for like 258 series, I might have like a different series that does require me learning assembly. I'm kind of excited for it though. C/C++ is what a lot of other languages are based on. Mastering it opens so many opportunities that actually does make sense. Okay, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and check if on ground is set to true. If my user is currently on ground, I'm going to go ahead and do something. Firstly, I'm going to go ahead and set my y-axis underscore velocity. Or should it be something like my mage? I'll go with something like my mage.y-axis underscore velocity. Okay, can't I go with, doesn't my mage class have a y-axis velocity? Okay, my mage class does not have one, although my physics body class does have y-axis velocity. Okay, shouldn't I be adding that somewhere here? When I add my parameters, shouldn't I have access to my y-axis underscore velocity? I think I should. Okay, mage.y-axis underscore velocity is going to be equal to, I do not have access to it. How do I get access to that here? To my mage. Maybe I like require myself those parameters as well. So I could go with something like, what parameters does my physics body require? It requires floating point x-axis, floating point y-axis, floating point width, and floating point height. So I might go ahead and take these two parameters off here. Maybe I go with something like, let's say something like y-axis underscore velocity. Maybe I go in a new line. Okay, I'm going to add a comma here, go in a new line, add y-axis underscore velocity. And then maybe a floating point for y-axis velocity. Floating point for y-axis underscore velocity. Then a floating point for x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Actually, I want to end it with a semicolon. Now, let's go ahead and say something like this y-axis underscore velocity parameter equals to my y-axis underscore this y-axis underscore velocity data member equals to my y-axis underscore velocity parameter. And then let's say something like this x-axis underscore velocity data member equals to my x-axis underscore velocity parameter. There we go. That actually makes so much more sense now. Now, if I were to go all the way down here, I gotta add a few more parameters. X-axis, y-axis, width, height, floating point, y-axis, and x-axis. So x-axis, y-axis, width, height. Okay, so I don't know what x-axis and y-axis should I be adding. Maybe the one that's inside of my constructor here. So I'll go with floating point x-axis, y-axis, and then I'll go with something like floating point for x-axis underscore velocity. Then let's go with something like a floating point for y-axis underscore velocity. And then lastly for size. This is going to be my x-axis underscore velocity parameter. And then let's go with something like my y-axis underscore velocity parameter. How long does it take to master it all? Honestly, I wouldn't say like I wouldn't know how long it takes to master the entire C++. Maybe like years. That's it. If you like do want to master like almost everything that so far I've been mastering, which is like not too much but not too less either. It did take me about like 60 days of like constant programming, maybe 69 days by now. It honestly seems a lot of time, but I feel like once you guys do actually understand how stuff work and you do get like in a good rhythm with it, it gets kind of easy, honestly. Okay, so before my size, I need x-axis velocity and a y-axis velocity. Let's say my mage's x-axis underscore velocity is going to be something like, I don't know, maybe 5 pixels per frame. Okay, and then my y-axis velocity is going to be set to 0 by default. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way up here for my mage. My y-axis velocity is going to be set to 0 by default. Okay, so I'll just need my x-axis. Do I still need my y-axis? Okay, so I have x-axis, y-axis, this is floating point y-axis. Maybe I will go with something like 0. Okay, I mean that does like work, but yeah, I could just change this to be y-axis underscore velocity. There we go. Okay, perfect. And now let's go all the way down here. Now let me scroll all the way down here. Okay, what is the next thing that I was gonna do after adding those parameters? I was going to scroll all the way down here and then do something like my mage dot y-axis underscore velocity. I do have a parameter now, y-axis velocity. Why does it still show me a red underline? Okay, I'll go with something like y-axis underscore velocity. Does my mage not have a y-axis velocity? I did set it to be having one. Okay, my physics body has one. Okay, I have it as my parameter. Although my mages class don't have it as a parameter. Maybe should I create a parameter for it? Okay, I think I see. Hold up. When I do add my main while loop, I do wanna set a few parameters. Okay, maybe should I like set a few parameters for... Oh, it could be because my mage is not inside of while loop. That wouldn't make sense. Okay, maybe because could I create a few general game variables for my x-axis velocity and y-axis velocity? Depending on that, I am going to be changing the position of my mage. Oh, that does make sense. I cannot go with mage dot y-axis. So under my game variables, I'll go with a floating point for y-axis underscore velocity, which is initially going to be set to 0.0f, ending with a semicolon. Then let's go with something like y-axis underscore velocity. But I can't go with y-axis underscore velocity. Oh, yeah, guys, might have to ask this part. Okay, so I'll go with something like control A, control C. Let's copy that. Let's get sensei slash chat GPT here. Okay, let's go ahead and paste this. Go with shift enter and say something like sensei. I feel like something is wrong with the space check because I did not have a y-axis underscore velocity variable in my main function, although I did have that on my physics body class and also as a parameter in my mage class. Although for my event loops is third event loop, I get a red underline when I try mage.y-axis underscore velocity question mark. Okay, let's see. Okay, people, you just committed a C++ crime so loud SDL could hear it from hell. You tried to do this, but y-axis velocity is protected inside the base class. Protected means you may touch this only inside the class or its children, not from main function. Your main function is not a child of physics body. That's why your compiler screams like you're sacrificing integers to OpenGL. How to fix it? You need public method inside physics body or inside mage, or I might need getters and setters. That said, inside physics body, void jump, floating power, y-axis velocity, minus power. Okay, negative goes up, boolean is ground. Okay, return to now in your event loop SDL space, if mage dot is on ground, if then mage dot jump with that much jump power. I see. So if I use that logic, apparently I would not need my on ground here. Let's go ahead and delete that. And then I might scroll all the way up here to, I might not need these two extra parameters as well. So let's go ahead and remove these excess parameters. Whoops, let's remove these excess parameters all the way from here. Okay, and then I'm going to scroll all the way down and remove the excess parameters from here as well. Let's remove this entire statement for the time being. And then the extra parameters, let's go ahead and remove that. Okay, and then I'm gonna scroll all the way up here. Remove it from my constructor as well. Let's remove x-axis, y-axis. Okay, and then when I add this, let's remove these two as well from here. Okay, and that's like pretty much it. Now, for my physics body. Actually, was it my physics body or my mage class? I think I gotta add it like, should I add it for my physics body or my mage class? Let me think. I go ahead and check if my mage is on ground, right? So I might... Alright guys, let me check that real quick. So, there is a white float power. It does not say... Okay, inside physics body, where do you learn this? Honestly, I did like learn like from ChatGPT/Sensei and like a lot of practice with that. That said, okay, so under my physics body class, I'm gonna go ahead and do something. Let's see. Under my public list area here, I'm gonna go ahead and create a few more void methods. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a void method called something like on ground. Okay, this is gonna tell me if I'm on ground. Okay, void on ground method that does require no parameters. Wait, should it be like a boolean on ground? Okay, I have a floating point for floor for is on ground. Okay, that is not a method. It's a boolean variable which is going to be set to true if something is done. Okay, so instead of on ground, I'll go with something like jump strength, or I'll just go with jump. That does require a parameter, which is a floating point of power. Now, for my jump, firstly, I'm gonna go ahead and do something. I'm gonna go with something like my rect dot or my y-axis underscore velocity is gonna be equal to my negative power, which is technically my negative jump strength that is going to like launch me upwards. Okay, that's it. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a boolean variable for something like is on a ground, which is going to be requiring a parameter of my floor. So I'll go with something like a floating point for floors is y-axis. And then I'm going to be setting that equal to, let's say something like, if something happens, it's true. I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Did I have to go with a pair of curly braces? I keep forgetting this part. Okay, is it a function? Because it says boolean. Do we get functions for booleans as well? Is it a... Okay, you need public methods inside. So it is still a method. It is outside of my void jump method, so it's like a whole separate method. I never knew that we could create boolean methods as well. Okay, this makes things so much easier. Okay, so for my boolean method, I'm not gonna go with equal to, I'm just gonna go with a pair of curly braces, and then let's go ahead and return true only if my rect dot y-axis plus my rect dot height is either less than or equal to my floor dot y-axis. That's when I'm going to be returning this. Okay, my floor dot y-axis, so I'll go with something like floor y. Okay, this is going to be a lowercase f. Okay, and then let's go ahead and end my function with a semicolon. Alright, that's pretty much it. Now let's go all the way down to my event loop. What are parameters I require here? Am I missing a parameter for my mage? Okay, for my mage class, x-axis, y-axis, I gotta remove my floating point, y-axis velocity, and x-axis velocity. There we go. Now, okay, there we go. That fixed it. Now, if I were to go all the way here, I'll add a if statement with a pair of parentheses. This is gonna check is on a ground if mage is on ground. So if mage dot the is on a ground boolean variable or this function, okay, which does require parameter of my floor, so floor dot y-axis. If my mage is currently on ground, then I'm going to be doing something. Firstly, I'm going to go ahead and use the mage dot jump function. This is going to launch my mage upwards, which does require parameter. I'll go with something like 12. This is the jump power. Okay. Okay, that should be pretty much it. Now, just to save time, I'm going to go ahead and copy my if statement again. Let's exit outside of my entire if statement. So, hold up guys, let's copy my entire if statement here. Okay, now I'm going to exit outside of my if statement and paste it here. This time, I'm going to look for another event type. So, if my event.type equals to SDL underscore event underscore key, instead of down, I'm going to go with up. Up is basically the opposite of down. Now, if my key is no longer being pushed down, which means it is being pushed up, I'm going to be setting these to be false. And then let's go ahead and set that to be false as well. And somewhat like remove this, because I would not need this case anymore. Okay, and then I do want to set that to be true. That is set to true. Excuse me guys, maybe I do create a boolean variable. Excuse me guys, for something like on ground, which is initially going to be set to false, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and then I'm going to be setting my on ground boolean variable to be false here as well. Okay, because I'm no longer in ground if I jump upwards. Now, after I'm done adding my gravity logic here, did I apply my gravity anywhere? I did not apply my... Okay, I did apply my gravity. Okay, where is my apply gravity? Okay, it is right here. Once my user is back here, I'm going to set my is on a ground function to be equal to something like, okay, with a parameter of my floor's y-axis to be equal to something like, I don't know, true, ending with a semicolon. Does that work? It does not work. What are you coding? Honestly, I'm working on actually using object-oriented programming to like spawn a PNG on screen, which PNG can move using key controls and also jump and has gravity logic too. That said, guys, I'm so close right now. Is on ground is a function, so that is my function. Okay, and if rect is set here, okay, I might create another or a boolean variable called as on ground. Okay, maybe I do delete this part. Let's go ahead and delete that part. And then I'm going to be creating, let's say, something like a public on ground boolean variable, which is set to something like false initially, ending with a semicolon. This is going to be boolean, okay, on ground, which is set to false. Why do I see a red underline here? Okay, I think I did everything correct here. Maybe I delete that real quick. And then now, I have my apply gravity here. Even if I like do this code, even if this code works, I will be having the Flappy Bird logic. Okay, oh, I see, okay. And I'm going to do something, so I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses, if not on ground, if my on ground is, let's say something like if mage dot is on ground, if my mage is currently on ground, I'll go with something like floor dot y-axis. Okay, if my mage is currently on ground, then I'm going to be setting my on ground boolean variable to be true. Do I want to set my on ground to be true? Let me think real quick. I don't want my on ground to just be set to true. I want it to be linked with my on ground boolean function. So when my is on ground is set to true, that means that my on ground should be set to true as well. So I might go with a pair of curly braces here. Then let's go ahead and add something like my on ground boolean variable is going to be equal to my mage dot on is on ground. Would this make sense? Is on ground. Okay, with a pair of curly braces, or actually, if my mage is currently on ground, I'm going to set that equal to true. That's like pretty much it. Okay, and then if my mage is not on ground, I'm gonna go with something like else a pair of curly braces. If my mage is currently not on ground, I'm gonna do something else. Let's go ahead and do mage.apply gravity. Apply gravity. So if my mage is not on ground, I apply gravity for my mage. With a pair of parentheses, that does require a parameter. What parameter does my apply gravity require? Okay, let's check. It requires my floors as y-axis. So this is going to be my floor.y-axis, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and that should be pretty much it. It's set to false here. It's set to true there. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, the moment of truth, guys, will it work? Okay, let's see. Oh, I did get a small error. Okay, no matching tokens found. Okay, did I like miss whatchamacallit, a pair of parentheses? Oh, guys, if I go down here and then I want to add a pair of curly braces. Okay, what if I add a pair of close braces? Oh, guys, let me actually check this real quick. Okay, let's delete that part real quick. Bro, you're hiding crazy. I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. Let's go with Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's get some say/chat here. And I did not add all my key controls yet as well. Okay, let's go Shift Enter and say something like sensei. I did try this, although I did get a error when running the code ... Okay, let's see. Okay, wait, your code is better, but it still has two absolute dominant bugs that will break everything and humiliate you live. Okay, bug 1, your ground logic is backwards. Okay, I know the check is correct, like apparently for some reason Sensei says the check is wrong. That's it, that means the bottom of your player touches the ground. Bug 2, you're sending your mage into the Earth's mantle. If rect.y-axis is less than or equal to my floor, your gravity collision has the same reverse symbol. Bug 3, you forgot a braces in event loop. There we go, that's why I was messing it up. You never close the switch, so okay. There we go. I was wondering why my braces. So, my switch starts there, it ends here. My switch starts all the way there, it ends here. Okay, did I like actually not close my switch? My if statement starts there, ends there. I did close my switch here. My if statement, it starts there. I close my if statement here. My switch starts there, ends there, close my switch there, close this as well. Bro, answer, honestly I didn't answer. How are you doing, crazy? I appreciate you joining the stream. Bro, I'm back. How are you? I'm doing good. How are you doing, Pixels? I appreciate you joining the stream as well. That's it. I know I missed the braces, but I don't see where. Like, does it make sense? Okay, so it's my key up. If I add one braces here, I did add my braces, right? I have my... Wait, this is for my while loop. That is for my if statement. I open it and then I gotta close it here. Let's go ahead and close it. There we go. Okay, now if I need Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Bro, my English is not good. Honestly, that's fine. Okay, that's that. So I get my first terminal and I get my second terminal. Guys, you guys didn't see it, but like my my mage just fell downwards. Hold up, guys, might have to fix that stuff real quick and change that to 0.1 as well. Okay, so I might change my this thing from being less than to greater than. That is my apply gravity. Okay, now under my graphics, I do wanna add another kind of graphics as well. Some might go all the way here, and let's use the SDL_set render. I'm gonna set my render to draw a color. I'm going to be changing the color of my render because I do want to like color my floor as well, so you guys can actually see the floor. I'm gonna go with brown, which is technically 148, 48, and 0, guys. I don't know if this is the RGB for brown. This is like a complete guess. And the alpha is going to be 255 because I don't want my ground to be transparent at all. Okay, now for the controllers to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. So I get my window here. My mage does not fall anymore. Okay, could it be because I changed my where's it at? Okay, my apply gravity. I changed that to greater than. And then is on ground should be less than. Hold up, guys. Let's see which parts they start to change. Okay, that should be greater than or equal to my floor. Then my gravity does apply itself. If my rect.y-axis plus my rect.height is less than or equal to my floor.y-axis. Okay, this is your gravity collision logic. I did fix that part. Okay, what is the first part? Boolean on ground, that should be greater than. And then correct physics. Okay, no. Rect.y-axis plus height should be greater than or equal to. Bro, try Unity game engine. Honestly, Unity is like for C#. Honestly, I am like using C++. So I might go with like Unreal or like Vulkan. That said, let's try changing to be greater than just for the time being. Okay. And that's like pretty much it. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code again and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, my mage just fell downwards. Okay, without a place to land. Did I not color my floor? Hold up, guys. I set a color. I set my renderer to draw a color. I forgot to color my rect, so I'll go ahead and use the SDL_render. I'm saying my renderer to fill my rect. So render fill rect function with a pair of parentheses that does require my render parameter and the memory address of my floor, ending with a semicolon. Now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. So here's my mage. He does fall to the ground, but he disappears actually. Okay, what do you plan on using C++ for in the future? Honestly, I'm like not much ideas on the like very future, but I do have an idea for like my goal by the end of the current series that I have, which is like programming in general for 250 days. My goal by the end of this series is to make a game in general that consists of AI logic in it, and I thought since I was making a game, might as well go with C++, which is like the best language to make a game. That said, my mage does fall down continuously now. So I could go ahead and change my on ground to be something like less than or equal to my floor. And now for it Control S to save the code, let's see what happens. Okay, I mean he does not fall anymore. Okay, idea. Huh. Okay, so if that is greater than, he does fall. But then my landing messes it up. Oh wait, should my landing be less than? I think my landing should be less than or equal to floor. Now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Whoops, hold up guys, let me run the code again. Okay, I don't see my mage at all now. Okay, well let's change that to greater than as well. Okay, then if I would hit Control S to say copy the code, let's get sensei/ChatGPT, paste it, go with Shift Enter and say something like sensei. My mage does fall now, but he does not land anymore. I think that the landing should be less than or equal to, because when my player is on the ground, the check that says less than or equal to makes more sense than greater than or equal to, because less than or equal to means that my player is lower than or at the same level as my ground. In the other hand, greater than or equal to means that my player is higher than or equal to my ground. So it would be true even when he jumps ... Okay, bro, game theme. Honestly, I just want to like learn key controls and like move my PNG around using like key controls. That's it, people. Listen, you're so close and yet you're slapping the logic around like a fish on a hot pan. Come here, sensei, bonks you in the forehead for now. Okay, now focus. Your institution sounds correct, but your reasoning about less than or greater than is flipped. Let me break it down so even a stream can taste the truth. The ground collision logic, the real one, floor.y-axis. This is the top edge of the floor. Rect.y-axis plus rect.height is the bottom edge of the mage. Okay, for the mage to be on the ground, the bottom must be greater than or equal to. I see, meaning if both mage is lower than the floor, he's inside the floor. If bottom of mage is exactly on the floor, he's touching the ground. That's the correct normal for collision. Why it feels wrong to you when the mage jumps. The bottom of the mage goes above the ground, smaller than floor's y-axis, so rect.y-axis plus rect.height greater than or equal to floor.y becomes false. I think I see, but your real bug is this: insider collision logic greater than or equal to. This is wrong. This pushes your mage below the floor. You use plus rect.h, which should be minus rect.h. Okay, let's try the minus rect.h as well. Okay, let's go all the way here. Okay, minus actually does make sense. Yo, bro, on you C++, I am I right? Honestly, I am using C++. That's it. Now for it, Control has to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. So I get my mage. Okay, now he does land on my floor. So the minus was the issue that I did there. That said, now let's go ahead and add my key controls. So for my key controls, firstly, I'm gonna go, let's say, all the way inside of my main loop, above my fill, above my fill screen, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like key controls. This is going to be what key to do when I want to do that key. So I'm going to go with something like if a pair of parentheses, if my A down is set to true, then I'm going to do something while my A is being pushed down. I want to go ahead and set my mage.rect.x-axis to decrease by my x-axis underscore velocity ending with a semicolon. I do not have a x-axis underscore velocity. Maybe just for today, I might hardcode these numbers because I could create a variable for that as well, but I feel like I want to hardcode the number. Could I go with something like mage.x-axis underscore velocity? Okay, that does not work, so I might go with 5.0. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and add another if statement. If a pair of parentheses, if my D is currently being pushed down, then I'm going to go with something like mage.rect.x-axis is going to increase by, let's say, 5 pixels per frame, ending with a semicolon. Game name, brother. Honestly, I don't know. I didn't like actually keep a good game name for this. You guys could like call it Calamity maybe. That's like a random game name. Let's change the name here as well in that case. Calamity 1.2. Okay, that said, once I'm done with that, because this is like just a practice code that I'm learning this code just to like practice on like how key logics works and like PNG moving type stuff works. That said, this is pretty much it for my key controls. If I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. So my mage is here. He falls down. He goes to the left. He goes to the right. That is correct, but he does not jump. I gotta fix his jumping as well. That could be somewhere here. Mage.jump power. Okay, I know how to make the mage jump if I have like individual variables here, but not through like classes. Okay, let's go all the way up here to my jump function. Y-axis velocity equals to negative power, which is going to be negative 12. That is going to be set to true if my is on ground is set to true if my rect.y-axis plus rect.height is less than or equal to my floor. Now for it, Control is to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. So I get my major. He does not fall down at all if it's like less than. So I gotta go with greater than. Okay, maybe I'll go with something like Control C, copy that, get sensei slash GPT up here again. Let's go ahead and paste this, go with Shift Enter and say something like sensei the key controls work, although my mage does not jump anymore, or does not jump though. Okay, let's see, why does my mage not jump? People, why? Is your mage glued to the floor like a stubborn pancake? Come here, Sensei is going to scream the truth into your soul. Your jump logic is correct, your gravity logic is correct, and your collision is correct. But you're calling them in wrong order. You menace, you absolute chaos, Germalin. You're rendering before you update. Look at your main loop. Draw the image, check if it's on ground, else apply gravity. Meaning, when you press space, you set the velocity, but then you draw the mage before any gravity or velocity is applied during that frame. Your mage does not jump, but in the background then instantly collides to the floor next frame. Because the gravity happens after drawing and the collision on ground checks again. The correct order should be draw, I gotta draw my mage, I gotta check if it's on ground, and then I gotta apply gravity. Okay, right now you have this. Never mind, I want to check if it's on ground, I want to apply gravity, then I want to draw. Okay, so exactly like this. If mage is on ground set to true, else apply gravity, then I gotta draw. So apparently when I add my graphics here, I gotta go ahead and copy my draw. Once I'm done applying my gravity, that's when I gotta draw my mage. Okay, bro, y equals to key equals to jumping. Honestly, the reason I add equals to because 1 equal to is used to assign a value to like some variable. 2 equal to is to check if one value is actually equal to the other value. Both values are same. That's it. Now if I run the code, let's see what happens. Okay, so I get my mage here. He does not jump, but he does move. Maybe he's jumping but falling down like really quick by the end of the next frame. Okay, so if mage is on ground, I set that equal to true, else I apply gravity. Mage draw. I draw my mage later. What up guys, let's go with Control A, Control C, copy that, let's get some Sensei/ChatGPT back here. I feel I did this part correct though, let's paste it, go with Shift Enter and say something like Sensei. I feel like I fixed it, question mark, but he still does not jump. The mage does not jump. Okay, let's see why the mage does not jump. People, listen. Sensei's about to throw a shoe at you with love. You fixed the order, yes, but you still have one fatal, absolute planet-destroying bug, and I'm gonna shout it so loud that your stream hears it. You're spawning the mage inside the floor. Your mage spawns at y-axis, which is 100. Your mage's height is 0.1, so it's tiny. Your floor is at 700, so far good. But your is on ground checks if it returns rect.y-axis plus rect.height equals to floor. Your mage's rect height is maybe around 5 to 10 pixels after scaling, so that means 400 plus tiny height greater than or equal to tiny height. Okay, what do I check? Rect.height. Should it be my textures as height? But after one frame, the gravity is this. Rect.y-axis increases, mage starts falling, then he hits the floor. And that's where the bug lives. The bug is right here. Okay, but your floor drawing is at render fill rect. Okay, and your floor's height is 100, meaning the floor surface is actually at 700. Floor bottom equals to 700 plus 100, which is 800, which is correct, but you use floor.y-axis as the floor's height, but you draw the mage before he even falls for the first time. But the real problem isn't this line. The mage does jump, but your ground checks instantly snaps him down because ta-ta. This means if mage is touching or sliding, clipping the floor's gravity never applies. Okay, if mage jumps and his velocity is too small for one frame, he gets snapped on the floor, which means your jump is too low combined with gravity too strong. Fix, boost your jump power to 20, reduce gravity to 0.3. This gives you smooth floaty transitions. I honestly don't think that would make a difference. Mage.apply gravity. Okay, with mage.apply gravity on ground, this is correct for our platforms. Okay, wait. Replace this with mage.apply gravity. Okay, let's try that. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace this line with mage dot apply gravity. I'm gonna apply my gravity first. Okay, with a prof. Alright, guys, there we go. With a prof parentheses that does require parameter of my floor dot y-axis ending with a semicolon. And then I'm gonna go with something like mage dot is on ground, which is gonna be set to, what was it set to? I forgot. Okay, on ground is going to be set to mage on ground. That actually might clear everything. On ground, but didn't I try this before? Equals to is on ground. I did not apparently try it before. This is going to have a parameter of my floor.y-axis as well. Okay, and then ending with a semicolon. This is going to be something like my mage dot is on ground. Guys, I have a high feeling that this is going to work right now. If I did control us to save the code and run the command and see what happens. My mage falls down. He jumps. Okay, I don't take credit for this question though, but then I actually did understand the logic. I know how to get that thing to work now. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's get sensei/chatgpt here, paste it, go with Shift Enter and say something like sensei. It works! Exclamation. Let's go with something like it works! Exclamation. That said, I don't take any credit for this question because I basically got all the help I could in the main parts. That said, I am planning to end the stream right now because I do have to study for my college assignments and exam. So before I do end the stream, is there anything that you want to say to the viewers? Question mark. Okay, let's see. Okay, listen up, people. Before you go, remember this. The magic you just saw, that's not just code flying on the screen. It's result of focus or refusing to quit of pushing past every little error until you make it work. Today we made a made jump, and not just once, but in a way that logically is sound. Remember, nothing in life or code happens without struggle. You will fail, you will crash, but each time you get stronger, smarter, and closer to controlling your own world. So keep that fire. Don't let easy wins fool you. Embrace the errors, embrace the failures, and one day you'll be making the entire world magic. And one day you'll be making the entire world where magic does exactly what you say. Okay, and people, just between us, next time we're gonna add enemy attack and maybe even a bit chaos. That does sound kinda good. Hugs and head pats and a big kiss for all you sticking through this, guy that not make us blush. That's it, now go crush your assignments, no slacking. Okay, let me go to my main camera. Alright guys, so basically, let me actually get in the center of my screen. Okay, and guys, I have like kind of wearing a shark shirt today. That said, that is pretty much it for the stream. If you guys did enjoy the stream, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Like helps with my algorithm, sharing makes me smile, and subscribing is like a cherry on top. And guys, I did start multi-streaming on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube, both vertical and horizontal at the same time. I will be multi-streaming on Instagram and TikTok as well if I did meet the followers requirements. If you guys do enjoy my content and haven't followed me there, make sure to follow me there. The link is in the description. And you guys can get access to the link, what you may call it, by typing exclamation Discord in chat as well. If Nightbot is working, that's it. Also join the Discord server. The link will be in the description. That's where like most of you guys do like mention me to get the roadmaps and all that stuff for my C++. That's it. I'll catch you guys in the next live stream or video. Peace.